Hello. In order for you to have some sort of study sheet for the test, I wanted to give you this option. We have one of my students created this. We kind of work together. Generally, what I do is I will tell you to use 5-10 minutes to write down cheats. They're not cheats, they're tips and tricks and strategies for each section of the test. So if we're talking about the ACT, that'll be the English, the math, the reading, and the science. And this is just a time to remember all the things that we've talked about, all the strategies that you're using, so that when you go to test day, you are ready to go and you know exactly what you're doing. All right, so let's start with English. And this is different for every student. So we're going to see how her strategies compare to yours. All right, so let me just get ready to write anything else. So for the English, you don't miss a lot of questions, great, but and neither does she. So we've got English, you want to cross out wrong answers. This is a strategy just that we are using everywhere. Pay attention to the subjects of verbs. They love to mess that up. So you want to be very careful about who is doing the action. They'll make it sound like they're testing tense, should it be past or present, that kind of thing. But actually, it's that the subject of the verb is, singular, and most of the choices are for plural verbs. So a good way to check that is to consider, there we go, it versus they. All right, I will just plug that in instead of the subject, and then that helps me hear the right word, the right form of the verb. And then give what question asks for and use keywords in text as anchors. On the ACT, it is very, very literal. So you just want to make sure that you are doing what they ask you to do. If they ask you for a conclusion, then it's going to wrap up everything it's already talked about. If they want you to transition to the next paragraph, your transition needs to include something that is referenced in the next paragraph. All right, so we're nothing too fancy, just do exactly what they ask you to do. And then, so those were the things I had said. And then she added in 1 dash is like a semicolon. And remember for ooh, that's not right, is it? It's the colon. All right, it's the colon. And for that's right, because we fixed it. So remember that is going to be, you need a full sentence, then the colon, and then comes a list, an example, or a clarification. Okay. All right, then simple answers are good. Subject verb agreement. See, we're always worried about that. And then whom is the same grammar as them. So if you are comparing who versus whom, that's the same setup as he versus him or they versus them. So the odds of them testing who versus whom are small, but just in case. All right. Then we go down to math. So take a moment to think about your math strategies, formulas that you know you need, but you may not remember. Things like that. Let's see what we got. Oh, that's right. I went out of order. Okay, so math. All right, so she was working through a program I use called Math Chops, but we did not, you and I didn't go through that, so this one's irrelevant. But then we have write everything out, no shortcuts, for sure. This is how we avoid careless errors. Draw pictures, write on their pictures. See, and that's another one. This isn't about being good. I mean, it's about being good at math, which you are, and it's about creating systems so you don't make mistakes. Because for you, it's not about like about what is the math. You're comfortable there. It's about avoiding the mistakes. Okay. So drawing on the pictures, writing on their pictures, writing the formula out before you fill it in, another good one, because it's so easy to just forget a piece of it if you are trying to multitask. All right. The more your pencil is moving, the better off you are. All right. She also added use calculator in programs. Absolutely. On the ACT, you're allowed to use your calculator, so why wouldn't you? And then harder questions are at the back and to cross off incorrect. Yep, using that process of elimination is great in every section. And I particularly like it in the math because sometimes I can eyeball my answers and say like, well, I know that, just look at the picture. That line is definitely not longer than that other line. So I can cross off these answers. Then I do the math. And if my math is wrong, I might end up with one of those answers I crossed out, and that's kind of a double check for me. So I can say, wait, I crossed that off before. Was I wrong then, or am I wrong now? Right? The more our pencil is moving, the better off we are. Let's see what else we got. We get to the reading. Remember, you have a little less than 9 minutes per passage to read the passage and answer the questions. So you want to read the passage quickly, just to get an idea of where things are. All right. You're going to return to the passage regularly when you're answering. Do not use your memory because that's how they get you. All right. They're going to use specific wording to try and mess you up. So refer back to the passage. We want to read the questions and answers literally and in a way that is super connected to the test. All right. The ACT, again, is very literal. So if the question says, according to the passage, it'll be in there. All right. The trick might be finding it. That can be difficult. So we could use keywords in the question or keywords in the answers to help us find it. Or we could also give up. That is always an option. And sometimes it's your best one if it's taking too much time. All right. Let's see. And then write notes to the side if the paragraph or passage is hard to read. Happens to the best of us. All right. So if you are reading and you realize, man, I've just read that whole paragraph and I have no idea what it said. You can try to read it again. I do. And then it doesn't go in a second time. Well, that's my cue to write a note on the side. Doesn't have to be a good note or something that really sums it all up. No, it's just a note of like, what were they talking about in that paragraph? Did they say Texas a lot? Because if so, then I'm writing Texas. Was a person introduced? I'll underline their name. Like, get something out of that paragraph and then get out, right? So you can keep moving. Let's see what else. She wrote, all answers are in the passage. That is true. And no, I've already said that when they say in the like according to the passage, it's literally going to be there. It's what does the passage say, not what does the passage mean. So don't overthink it. Then she also wanted to talk about the notes on the side and then the two passage setup where you have passage A and passage B. Make sure that you read passage A, do those questions, then read passage B and do those questions, and then go back to the both. That paired passage can happen anywhere in the reading section. It could be the first one, could be the last one. So it will be there, and just plan on, breaking it up. It's easier on your brain if you break it up. All right, then let's see. Last thing is science, another pretty easy one for you. So just remember these things. The biggest problem with the science is that it is the last section, so you're tired. All right. So some of the things I'm writing here are less to help us be stronger in the science section and more to help us do better after having already done a lot of testing. Okay. So let's see, we'll just go in order. Conflicting viewpoints passage is written copy paste. What I mean by that is the one where it's all just students or scientists describing a hypothesis. That is written in the same format each time. One student will say their piece. The next student will say the exact same thing, but change some of the words from higher to lower, from hotter to colder, just change a couple of words. What that means is if you can find the answer in one student's say, you can find it in the seconds in the exact same spot. So use that to your advantage. Again, crossing out wrong answers. Eyeball them, logic through them, cross things out. It helps your brain to have it physically crossed out in front of you. That way your brain does not have to continue to say B, B is not an option. B is not an option. Take it easy on your brain whenever you can. Look for factually wrong answers. This is a good one. Sometimes we can get caught up in, where do we find the proof? Where is this in the passage? But you can also, if it's scientifically incorrect, it's wrong. So the example I have here is from a test we did that talked about upward gravity. That's not a thing. And there was the other one was downward buoyancy, which like makes balloons float. They have buoyancy. There's no downward buoyancy. So those were incorrect. We want to write on the charts and graphs to stay focused, just like we did in the math section. So make sure that, you know, pencil is moving, hands can be helpful. So if you're reading a question and it says, according to chart 1, put your hand on the words chart 1 and put the other hand on chart 1. All right. It helps keep you focused on the test and make sure that your eyes go exactly where they need to go without getting, you know, off track. All right. Sounds kind of silly, but it absolutely works. All right, and then she said all answers are in graphs except outside knowledge. That's true. So you should be able to find your answers in the graphs, and if you can't, then you need to go to the text that's above it. All right, sometimes the answers are in that text, and if it's not there either, then it's probably outside knowledge. And in that case, you either know it or you don't. So don't spend a ton of time trying to decide. Use process of elimination to get you as far as you can. Take your best guess and move on. All right. One of the most important things about doing this test well is knowing when it's time to move on instead of, you know, cranking away on this one question, because there are a lot of other questions out there that you're going to be amazing at. So let a few of them go. All right. And then that brings us to just the usual test strategy stuff that your teacher is always telling you. Let's go ahead and write some of that down. So we want to make sure, so let's see, test strategies. First of all, you know, you need to go to bed at a reasonable time. Not too early, not too late. Just make sure that you're getting enough sleep, all right? And part of that can be what you do on Friday. Friday, you don't need to study, okay? You are who you are on Friday. So the best thing you can do is give your brain a break, because it's going to be working real hard on Saturday. All right, so go do something fun. The only thing I would really want you to do on Friday is to pack your test bag. All right, and that's going to be your printed ticket, which you should have gotten in an email, your ID, pencils, multiple pencils, calculator. Actually, you know what, let's call it a charged calculator. So if you haven't plugged your calculator in a while, please pause this video and go do that. And let's see what else. A sweater, some water, snacks. And I think that'll do it. All right. Let's see, what other test strategies do we have? You want to make sure that you are eating well. All right, so have a nice dinner, have a nice breakfast, do what you normally do. Biggest thing is to keep the status quo. All right, you can, there no big life changes right now. This is a time for you to be exactly how you've been. All right, because any big adjustments will not be helpful to your testing. So no changes. If you drink coffee, please continue. If you don't start. No new anything until Saturday afternoon. Once you've taken the test, you can reinvent yourself completely, but please wait until after the test. All right. Let me see, is there anything else I would say here? Make sure that your, let's see, confirm your test site. Just make sure you know what it is, where it is, how to get there, and then leave in plenty of time. Better to get there early than to get there late. All right, you will probably be standing out, maybe outside. You'll be standing in a line for a little while, but you won't, you know, it's just better for your mindset if you're not stressed about getting there late. Okay. And then, oh, and then, so now you, when you get to the testing site, the other thing is to make sure that you take the breaks. All right, if they give you they will give you breaks. go to the bathroom, even if you don't have to. The change of scenery is good for your brain. Standing up, and walking, moving your body is good for your brain. All right. You do not want to sit in that one position for 4 hours. That's not good for your brain or your body. Okay. So I think that is it. And I wish you the very best of luck on test day. If you need anything, please let me know. And I look forward to hearing about your results.